Hey, what's happening, everybody? Colin Crandall here from MMA Power Hour, your MMA professor, back in this messy live streaming room. I got to do something about it, I know. But anyway, ignore that if you would, and let's get jumping in on a recap of yesterday's UFC on ESPN 37. Starting from the bottom, I'll let you know if something's in kind of a surprise category, or really surprised or shocked, or my thoughts going forward. Okay, so in the first fight, Roman Dolidze against Kyle Dawkins, I really did start to think Dolidze had more of a chance than people thought. Kyle's a good, tough guy, but it's just weird. I'm starting to get a really good idea in kind of the rhythm of when upsets are going to happen. I wish I had a better idea, because then I could be a wealthy man from always betting on the dogs, but unfortunately I don't. And UFC MMA betting is very, very, very tough, as you all know. Anyway, Dolidze just came out strong. Dolidze is a very strong guy and a good fighter. Don't know why they made him such a big dog against Dawkins, but Dolidze had lost to Trevin Giles, but otherwise was perfect in the UFC, and he goes to 4-1 in the UFC. Good night for the Georgian, the Caucasian, the Roman Dolidze. Big man, strong, tough guy, and is probably just getting, well, at 33, I don't know if he's getting better, but maybe a little bit, possibly. He's right for a man his size in the weight division. Is kind of right about the middle of his prime. Anyway, Dawkins, I'm sure, will be back. Phil Hawes and Deron Wynn kind of came out as expected. Wynn is such a tough guy, really short for the division, though. I mean, he even fought at 205 at like 5'7" or something like that. It's tough. They were both good wrestlers. I thought Wynn did have kind of a decent chance of doing something. College, too, maybe I may have been wrong, but Hawes definitely proved that he was more, the right size for being 185 pound fighter. Wynn is a tough, really good fighter, and is kind of back on track here after a tough loss. The funny thing is, I saw a recap, and they were kind of showing Hawes talking trash to Daniel Cormier afterwards, saying, yeah, you're, trying to avoid the. I think he felt they were both in AKA, Cormier and Wynn, and I think they are friends. And I think Hawes a couple times make the fights. I'm not the matchmaker. I'm not the one that says when the fight happens, and then when that whatever. And but then, you know what? I think Cormier made sense at, toward the end. And I know it seems like a lot of young guys don't like when older guys kind of try to tell them, to an extent, have a little bit more respect. But in reality, you got Phil Hawes, a 33-year-old fighter who's a good fighter, on the upswing. But you got DC, who's 10 years his senior, or pretty close. Much more decorated wrestler, much more decorated fighter, and I just think the bottom line is that you show some respect to a guy like Daniel Cormier, and I think he's kind of trying to let Phil Hawes know that just get a little bit older or a little bit more accomplished before you start trying to fire off disrespect. You know what I mean? And I think Hawes got it. It got through to Hawes. Anyway, so that was an interesting fight, but kind of as expected. Then we had a fight with Cody Stamann and Eddie Wineland. Good win for Cody. We're going to interview Cody on Wednesday. Good Michigan guy like myself. And, really look forward to talking to Cody. And it looks like he was the one to finally retire Eddie Wineland. And, it went as expected for Cody Stamann, talented guy. He will be back in bigger things very soon. And it was a good win, solid win. Maria Oliveira and Gloria DePaula, I actually did not catch that fight, but I read the breakdown. A lot of people felt that DePaula won the fight, and Oliveira got a split decision. That happens a lot. When it's close, up to interpretation and what criteria that the judges favor the most. Some are more favor more control and wrestling, some favor more striking, some even favor more power shots. Talk about that. We will talk about that on the main event recap coming up. My boy, I like Ricardo Ramos. I really do. The guy is a beast. He's still young, not even 30, I don't think. Let's take a look. 26 years old, the man they call Carachinha, little face. He's an unusual looking guy. He's very distinctive. And, I like him. I really do. I'm a Ricardo Ramos fan. And he's had a couple losses in his last few fights. Actually, he's been in the UFC for a minute, hasn't he? Been in the UFC for 5 years now. And he started out with 3 good wins, then had a loss where he got stopped by Saeed Nurmagomedov, came back with 2 wins, got stopped by Lerone Murphy, another super tough killer, beat Billy Algeo, lost a decision to Byra Tugakov out of the great AKA school, and then just beat Danny Chavez. This guy's legit. Ricardo Ramos is legit. He's not even in his prime yet, 26. So I'm a fanboy of Ricardo Ramos. I like him for sure. And it was a good win, solid win. All right, then we have uh, Jeremiah Wells and Court McGee. Court McGee is a tough guy. The Crusher is a tough guy. But Jeremiah Wells is legit. He's 35 years old, though, at 170. That is past your prime for a 170-pound fighter, although a lot of guys still have something left all the way until their late 30s, early 40s. So the lower the weight, the less of a long shelf life you have. Because it relies a lot more on speed and reflexes. You get to the heavier weights, a lot more on power, and a lot of older guys retain their power, but just nobody really retains their fast reflexes and speed, and even recovery ability as you get older. Anyway, but yeah, Jeremiah Wells, tough guy out of Henzo Gracie, Philly, and what a win streak! He's on a 5-fight win streak, and 3 of them have been in the UFC, all of them by stopping. Let's see who he stopped. First fight, he stopped Warley Alves. Legit AF. Mike Mateta. Mike Mateta. And Mike Mateta was the Blood Diamond, the man they call the Blood Diamond. He was 3-0 going into that fight in his UFC debut. And he was stopped by Jeremiah Wells. And now Jeremiah Wells stops Court McGee. The guy's legit. He doesn't have time to waste at 35 years old. Jeremiah Wells is coming for you because the time clock is ticking on his career. But I cheer for an older guy like that. I like him. And then we have Natalia Cristina da Silva and Jasmine Jasuda Vicious. Man, size advantage to Jasuda Vicious, UFC experience to Jasuda Vicious just by a little bit. But Natalia Cristina da Silva, wow, impressive. She just put a punishment on Jasmine Jasuda Vicious. And she is legit. And in her first UFC fight, coming out of Jungle Fight. In fact, in Jungle Fight, she had won her last 6 fights in a row, all by submission. But yet, look at her light up Jasuda Vicious with amazing hands and kicks and just popping. She was popping. She was really good. So big respect for both fighters. But this Natalia Cristina Silva, 25 years old, is really a promising prospect. Okay, then we had Adrian Yanez and Tony Kelly. Tony Kelly was in the corner of Got who against the Brazilian. He said some derogatory stuff. Took a lot of heat. Probably should have. And Yanez shut him up. Yanez is very tough for the Texas crowd. And Kelly's still a tough guy. He hung in there. He marked up Yanez a bit, but Yanez is really legit. But Yanez is a scary guy for anyone that weighs 135 pounds. 16-3. The guy's 5-0 in the UFC, 4 stoppages, 4 KOs, and he is a KO guy. He submitted 2 guys in his career, but he has stopped each. So yeah, Yanez is legit. Afterward, he mentioned 2 guys. He mentioned Sugar Sean O'Malley, and who was the other bantamweight? Good name, really good name. I forget who the other one was. He's wanting to talk to the guy to the top 10. I think he was actually ready to face the rank contenders. He also started talking about top 15. So we'll see what happens on it. He's all right. Then we jump to the last few fights on the main card. Gregory Rodriguez RoboCop versus Julian Marquez. Marquez was the dog. I wasn't quite that familiar with RoboCop. I think a lot of us handicappers weren't. I thought that Marquez was very live. It could possibly win. Marquez showed a ton of heart and guts, just a ton. But man, this guy, Gregory Rodriguez RoboCop, is legit. He lost a split decision to Armen Petrosian. Petrosian's a good guy. Otherwise, he would be undefeated now, 4-0. Instead, he's 3-1 in the UFC, a record of 12-4 and for Brazilian to black belt. But the man is big for 185 pounders, 6'3". Looks like he's cutting maybe 30 to 35 pounds. As this big man probably walks around at like 215 or something like that. And a little bit on the big side for 185 pounds. Maybe not. Maybe he looks like he's big because he's big. Out of Stanford, MMA, great school, Iron Strike, and I'm sure that Marquez will be back. Then we had Damir Ismagulov versus Guram Kutaladze. Ismagulov, they're both Eastern Bloc guys. Ismagulov was from Orenburg, Russia, and Kutaladze from Georgia. I thought Kutaladze won. The Georgian Viking, Guram Kutaladze, is a beast. And this is a shame because this would have made him 2-0 in the UFC. And instead, he is 1-1, both split decisions. He's a double tough guy. All respect for his Magulov, but I think that Guram Kutaladze won that fight. Both of you guys have good futures at lightweight. Very tough guys. That we can get even more stuff. Then we had Joaquin Buckley, the man originally training out of Michigan. Now I think he's training somewhere else. He's originally from St. Louis, but I know he was in Michigan for a good little while over there at Murcielago MMA, doing some training with Cass Williams and my good friend Curran Jacobs. But I think now he is training somewhere else. But man, he looked great. I called Buckley to win that fight. And people didn't really believe it. Duran was a tough, rugged guy. But Buckley is for real. He's a good guy. He's a smart guy. He's a little bit of a short, stocky guy for the weight class, kind of like Hector Lombard, if you remember him. And, man, his defensive wrestling was really good. And it was tested against Albert Juraev, the man from Volgograd, Russia. And I know I'm sure he'll be back, but this was a good statement in the middleweight division. By Mr. Joaquin Buckley. Fans were cheering USA for him, and that was awesome. Yeah, he did fans for the fight after that, there's also the Cowboy. Actually, there's one more fight here. Cowboy and Joe Loza was canceled for the second, third time, and Dana White said he's not going to schedule. So, unfortunately, we will not see that unless somehow got to fix it. But anyway, maybe they'll convince him to reschedule it. But post-fight press conference yesterday. Anyway. Next, Kevin Holland and Tim Means. You know, this fight was about 2.5 to 1 favorite for Kevin Holland. I thought he should have been 4 or 5 to 1. All respect to Tim Means, but Tim Means is a tough guy, 38 years old, not in his prime anymore. He rattled off three good victories, and but you know, has looked like, you know, against the better fighters that doesn't have a chance to beat them. And Kevin does, and yeah, Kevin was a big pick of mine, really good guy. We've met him several times, and friends with his trainer and co-manager, Justin Adams, who's a guy out there in Texas. Kevin was great, so happy for the team trailblazer. But Tim Means is tough. Tim Means is really tough. I'm noticing that when guys have other guys hurt and the other guys kind of turtle up, that they're slapping on Darce choke or Bravo or Anaconda choke. which really makes sense. In fact, what do you call him? That guy, Ruotolo, Tai Ruotolo, I think, took that on Gary Conan. So that's kind of a thing where if someone kind of turtled up in their downs, slip it in and get in the darts, or coming under the Bravo, or the darts rolling into the end combat. So that looked good. It didn't look that tight at first, really, but he just had it. He had it locked, and then with the movement, he started to slowly tighten it up even more. And yeah, and also, what do you call him? Hurt means hurt. Hard to breathe already. It's definitely no fun having a choke slapped on you. It's hard to breathe. Definitely is a good, effective way to think of someone who's in that condition. Anyway, main event, Josh Emmett, Calvin Kattar. I picked Josh Emmett to win this. We've interviewed him several times. Tough fight. Really close. A lot of people complaining, feeling that Kattar won it 3-2. The thing is that and I know there's all kinds of different crap. I don't want to get into an argument with anyone about this modified, or not modified, but updated MMA rules and this and that. You got to look for this, and that doesn't count that much, and so on and so forth. The reality is, I think that regardless of whatever little tweaks, they're using a lot of judges that have done this for years. I know there's some boxing judges that have been doing boxing for 40 years and MMA judging for like 15, 20, 25, or almost 30 years. And a lot of these guys are not going to really care about little tweaks to the criteria. They're going to look at criteria such as ring generalship, who controlled the center of the cage, who was moving their opponent backward. They're going to look at effective defense. They're going to look at volume of punches landed, and they're going to look at power punches landed, as well as grappling and control time. And then shake it all up and come out with their result. So if you do that, ring generalship, taking the center of the cage to Josh Emmett for sure, most of the fight here, if not all the fight. Wrestling. There wasn't a lot of it, but wrestling to Josh Emmett. Power punches to Josh Emmett. I think overall volume of punches landed to Calvin Kattar. The rest is really close. So reality is, if you look at all that, Josh Emmett wins the fight just by a whistle. Really close though. I think I told a friend before they announced the verdict that although I'm cheering for Josh, I wouldn't be shocked or upset if it was an Emmett win. I'd be happy if it was a draw, or even if it was 1 point win by Kattar. All of those would be plausible and acceptable as far as judging, in my opinion. But bottom line is that Josh has worked really hard for a long time. He's 37 years old. I'm not saying people avoided him for years, although I think maybe a few people did. He just, bottom line is he's not a trash talker. So it seems like they gave a few extra fights to guys that were more trash talkers. He also had to deal with injuries on several occasions. And it just kind of, broad, what am I trying to say, drew out or extended, pushed out the opportunities for Josh, although he did make sure to fight every single year despite injuries. But I just think that a lot of times Josh Emmett was forgotten because the featherweight division, in my opinion, is even more stacked than the lightweight division. Although losing Zabit Magomed Sharapov definitely made a little bit of dent in how stacked the featherweight division was. But nevertheless, anyway, I'm not saying you owe someone something for paying more dues, but in essence, Josh has paid more dues than Calvin Kattar. He's older, been around the UFC a lot longer. Kattar's 34, so he's not super young, but Emmett's 37. Kattar has been in the UFC since 2017, just 5 years ago, July, so he's been short of 5 years, whereas Emmett has been in the UFC, I'm going to guess, for 8 years. Yeah. Emmett has been in the UFC for actually a little bit over 6 years. Anyway, whatever. Bottom line is, fight could have gone either way. Josh Emmett, great victory, and happy to see that. That's about it, guys. My thoughts, and we'll catch up with you soon. MMA Power Hour coming up Tuesday night. We're going to be talking to Cody Stamen. We're going to be talking to Tony Gravely off that great win the week before, and one other guest yet to be determined. That's about it. And appreciate you guys checking me out and overlooking this mess behind me and bad shoulder neck. But hey, at least I'm having a good hair day. Look relatively peppy and energetic for an old dude. Anyway, that's about it. See you guys later. Peace.